Welcome to another show. I'm going to revise a show I did earlier where Captain Kirk meets T.J. Hooker. Today I'd like to share my notes on a Star Trek novel that I was going to write, but I never did. I don't have the time right now with the comic books and YouTube show I'm working on, so I'll share my idea with you. I got the idea while watching Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Kirk and crew were walking through San Francisco in 1984 looking confused. That made me think, wouldn't it be funny if T.J. Hooker were to walk by right now? When I get home, I put the idea to paper. I thought of the episode Assignment Earth with Robert Lansing as Gary Seven and Terry Garr as Roberta Lincoln. In my mind, Gary Seven and Roberta Lincoln were wrapping up their assignment in that year as it had been completed, and Seven was planning to return to his planet. But then the current newspaper, or maybe a TV broadcast, I don't know which one, showed a picture or a video of what was described as a UFO that was taken aboard a whaling ship. Seven recognized the ship as a Klingon bird of prey, which shouldn't exist in this time, period. He informs Roberta that they have one more mission before closing up shop. He and Roberta head to San Francisco, where he sees on a local news channel T.J. Hooker, I don't know, receiving a medal for some good deed or something. Anyway, he was on the news, and Gary Seven thinks he's seeing a Captain Kirk that's been displaced in time. Long story short, somehow Gary Seven finds T.J. Hooker, and he, along with Roberta Lincoln, bring Hooker to the 23rd century in an effort to restore the timeline. Of course, Kirk and crew had already returned to their time before this happened, but Gary Seven doesn't know that. In the T.J. Hooker universe, I had Hooker, played by William Shatner, Officer Jim Corrigan, played by James Darren, and Stacy Sheridan, played by Heather Locklear. I was never an Adrian's Med fan, so I kind of left out Romano. But of course, if some writer wants to put Romano in, go right ahead. They were infiltrating a drug gang during the time that Gary Seven came to San Francisco to find James Kirk, or who he thought was James Kirk. Somehow, and at that stage, I really hadn't worked out all the details, just a rough idea in my head. Seven finds Hooker, possibly with amnesia, and brings him to the 23rd century in what he thought was an attempt to restore the timeline. When Seven and Hooker arrive in the 23rd century, James Kirk had been kidnapped by the Andorians because the Federation is trying to prevent the planet of Andor from seceding to the Romulan, or maybe the Klingon Empire. Hadn't worked that out, but the Andorians were going to secede, and Kirk was supposed to negotiate the peace treaty. But of course, rebel Andorians, who didn't want to see their planet stay with the Federation, had kidnapped James Kirk to prevent him from negotiating with the forces that be and keep Andor in the Federation. Somehow, Hooker is persuaded to fill in for Kirk until the Federation can find Kirk and restore him to the Enterprise. So we see a nervous Hooker trying to negotiate with the Andorian ambassador in one of the more humorous moments. When we get Hooker back to his own time, the drug gang is being arrested, and one of the perps says, "Man, I could really use a lawyer." So Hooker hands him a business card for attorney Denny Crane, which of course is William Shatner's character in Boston Legal. Well, anyway, that was a look at my rough notes for the unfinished novel. Very, very rough, needs a lot of work, needs a lot of polish. But that was Captain Kirk meets T.J. Hooker. What did you think? Would you like to see that kind of a team up? Are you a William Shatner fan? Did you like both Star Trek and T.J. Hooker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Share this video as that will help me grow on YouTube. Check out my Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise also in the comments. And subscribe to my channel. Until next time, this is Kevin Given saying, live long and prosper. May the force be with you, and keep reaching for the stars.